Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. In case you're not joining me live, today is Sunday, and it is going to be a terrific day. I'm looking forward to sharing the next 15 minutes with you. And my topic today is really what is your your knowledge accumulation strategy. That's what we're going to talk about. How do you accumulate knowledge and how do you use it? And I'm going to do this by highlighting Tim Sanders' book, Love is the Killer App. Now, I'm going to concentrate on one section of the three sections of the book. I'll give a general background, but I'll talk about how to gain knowledge, how to keep it, how to share it, and hopefully we'll get a lot out of it. And then I'll link it to some of the topics we've talked about in the last couple of weeks. So, first, Love is the Killer App was written by Tim Sanders. It was written in 2002, and many of the mortgage folks that might tune into this will recognize Tim because he was a frequent presenter back in the day at Sales Mastery. As a matter of fact, I think I saw him present at maybe 3 or 4 Sales Masteries. I've seen him speak quite a few times, and he's an excellent speaker. He really got his original, not claim to fame, but became well known for his work at Yahoo, where he was the Chief Solutions Officer. Currently he's the CEO of Deeper Media, which is a research consultancy group, and he has several bestsellers. In addition to Love is a Killer App, he wrote The Likability Factor, and then he also wrote Today We Are Rich. He does have a fourth book, Deal Storming, which I haven't read. Now, I'll tell you just the nugget that I kept from The Likability Factor. In one of the early chapters, I think it's maybe chapter 5 or chapter 6, he talks about if you're a leader and you come into work and you're grumpy and you're just having a bad day, and then you have a tizzy. You throw a tantrum, right, in the office. And in the book Likability Factor, what Tim Sanders says is you can never take that back. Your employees will always see you in light of that tantrum you threw, and you can never erase it. And so you've diminished your likability factor. No matter what you do from that day forward, you're diminished a little bit. And so think about that next time if you're a leader or when you're around other coworkers and you feel like you just need to express your frustration or anger, just know you're diminishing your likability factor. I love that part. I love that part of that book. And then Today We Are Rich, which is just really, it's an awesome book. It's really about how living in gratitude and how no matter what your station in life, you have things to be grateful for. Now going on to I'll give you an overview of Love is Killer App, and then I'll talk about the knowledge accumulation strategies. There's three main subjects in the book and kind of 4 different parts. If you're going to look at the different parts of the book, it's the first one introduces the concept of biz love or business love, and it suggests that you have to approach your work with a lot of love. And then how you express your love in the book is by first sharpening your own saw, gaining knowledge. And the purpose of gaining knowledge is so that you can freely share it. And that's where we're going to talk about knowledge is the first main topic after business love. And then networking, another expression of love is connecting with people. And then connecting with people, using that connection and showing your love by connecting other people together. And then the last thing is compassion, and compassion is the closest to what we understand as love is, showing compassion, showing caring, sensitivity, love to your fellow workers, and all that creates this biz love concept. So that's what the book is about. Now I'll tell you, this book was written in 2002, and back in 2002, it even had a little bit of an edgy style. It had a little free love 60s hippie feel to it. Even though it was a kind of a cerebral book, it more taught concepts and philosophies, not tactics and strategies. Although Tim would probably argue that it has plenty of tactics and strategies. The book might be a little idealistic, a little flowery. I've read the book several times. I practiced the knowledge accumulation strategies for 2 decades. I really have. And that's something else. When you read a book, like you don't read a book once. If you read a book and you get value out of it, and we're going to talk about it, revisit it, right? And you'll come to periods where you go, gosh, that book. I remember reading that book that really had an influence on me, and go back and read it. So I'll tell you, this wasn't on my list of books to read. You can't see I made my bookshelf. You see my that's my on deck circle of books I need to read. I have about 30 of them right now on that shelf. But I've been talking last week. I talked about going to conferences, how to get the most out of conferences. You go to conference to seek knowledge and solutions, and that made me think about knowledge accumulation, which made me think back to Love Is a Killer App, which caused me to grab the book and reread it. Essentially, while I was reread my original notes and then reread the book, so that I could refresh my knowledge accumulation techniques and strategy, and I can share them with you. So I reread the book, and that's what we're going to talk about now. If you're going to compare this book would be somewhat similar to the Go Giver, which is and that's kind of Go Giver is one of the founding principles behind BNI, which is giver's gain. It's you give to gain kind of thing. So, but it's kind of similar to that. It's a book of how do you give to people, and I like that. If now, so we got the book. You got the three main concepts. It's knowledge, networking, and compassion. Before I get to the knowledge accumulation strategy, I just want to share one other thought, because this thought is constantly on my mind, and it's on my mind to share with you. And that is, as I've mentioned before, I'm a big Earl Nightingale, disciple. I wore out his first this Greatest Secret. I wore that tape out, and then when somebody gave me the full set of, I think it's 9 tapes or something, I wore those dang things out. I really like Earl Nightingale. I love listening to Mike Ferry talk about Earl Nightingale, which doesn't always put him in the best light. Earl, I mean. But I remember coming across this quote that Earl said that if you spend an extra hour each day of study in your chosen field, you'll be a national expert in that field in 5 years or less. And that struck me young in my career. And I said, gosh, if I just got up an hour early and I really tried to study to master my craft just a little bit more, just 1 more hour a day, would I be an expert? And when you enter the mortgage industry and the real estate industry, it can be overwhelming how much stuff you have to learn. I mean, it's crazy. The jargon, all the little stuff, right? And so that always pressed upon me. Earl went on to say, he said that studying 1 hour a day can make someone top of their field in 3 years and a national authority in 5 years. And how that, strikes me is today, especially in both mortgage and real estate, we're facing a lot of challenges, but challenges are opportunities. But when you have challenges, when you have problems, sometimes it takes new solutions, and the way to new solutions is to gain more knowledge. That's why I tell people, go out, get coaching, get mentoring, go to conferences, read, really study. Well, in today's market, I think this is more important than ever. You should have a knowledge, accumulation strategy. How are you getting new knowledge so that you can seek new solutions so you can thrive in that new normal? And so this is all kind of a link to what we've been talking about. Now, Tim has really specific, suggestions on how to gain knowledge. The first thing, and it's not in the book, but it is when he speaks, he's a huge advocate of reading a physical book. He believes in a hardback. Like, make the investment, the heavy weight, the way it feels, the texture, the experience you have with it. He really recommends reading from a textbook. I mean, from a hardback, I agree with that. Most of my adult life, I agree with that. But Belinda and I went through an interesting exercise about 3 years ago. We had decided to sell the house we're in and buy another house. And, when you go through that, there's a cathartic process of getting rid of all the stuff you don't want. Over the span of my life at that time, it accumulated somewhere around 5,000 books. I love books. If you had gone to that house, we had a library full of books. My home office was full of books. My bedroom had books all over it. And then my work offices each had, bookshelves full of books. And I literally had about 5,000 books. And it came so bad that, when you have that many books, you can't store them on shelves. You store them in totes all over the place. And I have a different, philosophy that if you can't find something in like 60 seconds or less, then you don't really own it, because if you can't find it, it's worthless to you. I don't care if it's a tool, a kitchen gadget, a book. If I can't readily find it, then there's no use having it because it's doing me no good. So when we went to go sell our house and move, we decided to free ourselves of a lot of the baggage that had been anchoring us. We'd been in that house a long time because just the thought of moving was overwhelming. And so I tried to commit to going from physical books to digital books. I go, gosh, if I had all of these books on my iPad, I could find them in seconds. I could find my notes in seconds, and it'd be so much easier, and it'd be one small thing instead of all these totes, that we had all over the place. And so we donated all our books. We donated about 60% of them to a used bookstore, a really cool place in Carlsbad on Carlsbad Village Drive, right on the ocean. And that guy was happy as could be. We'd drop off 12 full totes at a time. And I remember we took trip after trip until he finally said no more. And then we donated the rest of them to the Carlsbad Library. So they all went to a good thing. Now I miss those books, and unfortunately I'm starting to accumulate again. As you can see, I'm having a hard time staying disciplined about digital books. I do buy plenty of digital books, but just know Tim believes that you do hardback. Now, that's his preference. It doesn't mean you can't do other things. And I'll tell you, here's his techniques he suggests for accumulating knowledge. First, read regularly and broadly. And regularly means block out time every day. Block out 30 minutes, an hour, whatever time. If it's for me, it's usually around 3 a.m., but for you, whatever time it is, block it out and just do it. And then when he says read broadly, don't just stick to, your discipline. Be well-rounded. Now, don't read garbage, but, don't be afraid to go into other fields so you get a better basis, whether it's psychology or economics or whatever happens to be. So read regularly and read broadly. And then, develop, I love this is my favorite point, develop a personal knowledge system. And that's that, how do you acquire knowledge? And when he says that, he goes, look, you got to take detailed notes while you're reading, and you got to summarize concepts in your own words, and then you have to categorize your information or organize your notes so that you can go back to them, right? So note taking, summarizing your own words, and categorizing or indexing in a way that you can find them. That's developing a personal knowledge system, right? Love that. And then, where applicable, use technology and tools. Now, we talked about digital back when he wrote this book. They had iPads, but when he says digital tools, it's use note-taking apps, use storage apps, use databases for research like Google or Scholar or JSTOR. So use digital tools. Like if you find a concept in a book, you want to develop it more and learn more about it, you can research it online using digital tools. This is a really important part, building a network, a knowledge network. What that means is that, look, you got to seek out the experts in your field. It's like when I told you, when you go to a conference, seek out the speaker, go speak to the speaker, get a relationship with the speaker, buy their products, read their book, stay connected to the speaker after the conference. So learn from the experts. That includes people that write books. Tim, if you like his book, write to him. Say, I love your book. Here's how I got it. I should write to him. Go, Tim, I wrote your book 20 years ago. I've read it almost every year. I keep practicing knowledge, your knowledge acquisition strategies. I really appreciate the book. And then, so learn from experts, seminars, all the things that you do, blogs, whatever. Seek a mentor that has wisdom. Seek somebody has achieved what you're trying to achieve and ask them to mentor you. Whether it's once a month or however it is, seek out a mentor. Mentor can help you gain the knowledge you need. And then do peer learning, right? If like a book club would be if we all read this book and we got together and we talked about what we got out of it, and then we had some sort of accountability, a link to our book club, or we're going to apply 3 concepts for the book. That's peer learning, so that's build a knowledge network. Learn from the experts, get a mentor, and exercise peer learning. And then this is another really important thing. And by the way, those people that really know me and listen to me talk about this, you can see that I practice these things, right? And then you're going to see the next thing, right? And I'm role modeling one of them right now. Is one, experiment with, take what you learn and then experiment in applying it. Like, okay, this concept says X, let's go see if we apply it to Y, how it works. And then the next thing, of course, is teach it to others. Right? And that's what I'm trying to do right now. Whether anyone listens or not, I'm internalizing the book as I talk about it, right? And I've coached on this book dozens of times, right? And so I get to internalize more of it. And so that's the practical application. And then here's the thing: stay curious. Question what you know, revisit what you've learned, commit to lifelong learning, right? And so that's pretty simple. That's kind of what the book preaches. Now, I will tell you that he gets more granular if you want to get into the book, and he gets very opinionated, which I appreciate. about, okay, where do you go seek knowledge from? Like, what do you go read? Do you go read, a daily tabloid? Do you read the Inquirer? Is that knowledge? And he absolutely emphatically says no, right? And so when you're looking at what kind of things to feed you with, what kind of things to read, right? Industry specific journals and magazines, that's trade journals, professional magazines for us, that might be Housing Wire, Scotsman Guide, it would be all the things, it would be Chrisman, it'd be all those things, right? So journals and magazines, business management and business and management publications, Harvard Business Review. Now, Harvard Business Review is dry, but you still have to be aware of it, and you should be selecting an article one a month, one every other month to slog through and internalize. I was just reading through a Harvard Business Review report yesterday. It's 48 pages. I'm going to actually write a LinkedIn article about it. But you gotta stay connected. That's like great stuff. MIT Sloan Management Review, like that's top of the line. Like, so he's suggesting don't just read anything, read the best. So, but business management is Harvard Business Review, MIT Sloan Management Review, and then general business. He was super strong. Don't read the newspaper. Don't watch the news. Like, don't waste your time. It's not going to help you. Don't do that. If you want your news, read the Wall Street Journal or the Financial Times. Those two papers, right? And they're the least biased, the most fact basis. Read those two papers. With technology and innovation magazines, he's a fan of Wired and Fast Company. And I know he wrote this book 22 years ago. So there's new things out. So this isn't the Bible here. You can update, but you get it. Only try to put quality stuff inside of you. On academic and research publications, read peer-reviewed journals, Google Scholar, which is still a really good source. Google Scholar has articles that have been thoroughly peer-reviewed, super good. Read online blogs and websites, LinkedIn articles, that type of stuff. And then books, read nonfiction. Read books that are in your industry. Expand yourself. Read books on psychology and leadership, self-help books. And then when if you hit your limit on how many books you can read book summaries, from websites like Blinkist. I haven't been to that website, but Blinkist. And so there you go. There are some tips on how you can gain knowledge, where you should seek knowledge. Be sure to share it freely. That's what the book says. Gain knowledge to share freely. It's a form of love when you add value to other people, right? Become sharper, more knowledgeable, and then share freely. I really like that part. So that's the book. Read it. Easy to read. Now I understand it's a little dated, and he's definitely a cool cat. Matter of fact, one of the big terms of the book is love cat. How do you be a love cat? He talks about it all the time. That is just how do you love people you're around, which to me just how do you give to them? How do you add value to them? The book's easy to read. It was a big bestseller. The other two books I highlighted are also good. The Likability Factor. You can get a couple nuggets out of that. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. Always drop me a line, drop a note. Tell me whether, hey, you know what? Do me a favor. Tell me whether you're watching this live or whether you watched it recorded. Will help me know. Maybe how I change my delivery. With that, I hope you have a great Sunday, and I will be back tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Bye.